Welcome to Do We Belong Here, a podcast dedicated to proving that everyone has a place in the world of cybersecurity.
So, hello. Welcome to the Do We Belong Here live recording. It's our first ever. I'm your host, Pam Lindemone, the CISO advisor at Cisco, and I'm here today with my temporary co-host, Dr. Candy King. She's the Cybersecurity Curriculum Director at Cyber Florida. Welcome. Thank you for filling in for my host, Tasha DeNose. How does it feel?
It feels great. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. It's wonderful to be here at Sunshine CyberCon, and I love being your co-host today.
Thank you all for taking the time to be with us today. We have a very cool and exciting guest today. She's one of the keynotes at this week's conference, a 17-year-old hacker and Defcon speaker, and she's also the CEO and founder of the organization Girls Who Hack. I don't know anybody more awesome than that. Do you? A 17-year-old hacker.
I try to be cool.
So this is Bianca Lewis. Bianca, thank you so much for being here with us today, our first ever conference recording. How do you feel?
I feel excited, a little nervous, definitely tired, still a little hungry. Is that descriptive enough?
Very.
Thank you.
She's very well sought at the conference, and I can tell you I've met her before, and quite frankly, when you experience being around you, it gives you a jolt of energy. It gives you confidence that we're doing the right things for young women. And to have somebody so young with an impressive pedigree already at 17, I can't tell you, as a much older woman in the business, how refreshing it is to have you and to see what you do. It is amazing. Firsthand, the first time I met you and saw what you accomplished with young girls, I was inspired and awestruck. You are impressive, and I am so proud to have you in my network. I think you're amazing.
Thank you. I'm glad to represent women in my generation.
You're doing great. So listen, those of us who know you, you're well known by me in our eyes, but I know what you do. I don't want to give it away. I'd like for you to talk to our audience about what you do. Can you give us a brief history of how you got into cyber and ended up as the youngest speaker at Defcon? Tell us in your own words.
Ooh, okay. So I started off in cyber relatively young, if 17 isn't young enough already. I started when I was in kindergarten. I started programming with Scratch, which is a block-based programming language aimed to teach like just the basic building blocks of how programming works. Moved on to Python, and Dad's like, she seems to really like the cyber stuff. I'll start taking her to some conferences and other things like, B-sides, and then obviously I moved on to like Hope, and then, of course, ultimately Defcon. My first talk ever was at B-Sides Delaware, and now I've done so many talks I can't even keep track of them anymore, which obviously led me to speak at Defcon. I am a 5-time speaker at Defcon now, everywhere from the Roots Asylum when that was still existing to like the biohacking village, the voting village, etc.
What is it about cybersecurity that you love so much?
Just how much it changes and adapts and keeps growing. Like, it would be literally impossible to learn everything, even within just one section of this field. Like, even if you're a network architect who's just done networking all your life for like 50 years, you're not going to know everything because everything's changing and growing and adapting, and it's an endless field, meaning there's just constant learning throughout your entire career, which makes it just so amazing and unique.
What does belonging in cyber mean to you?
There's a difference between just being included and actually belonging. If you're included, it just means you're allowed to be part of something. If you're belonging, it means you're actually part of it. You're making friends, you're making true connections, you're growing as a person and developing rather than just existing in the space.
So as part of Girls Who Hack, you work closely with young girls. You worked with them a lot today at our conference with the soldering sessions that you did, and you help introduce them to the cybersecurity industry. Can you tell us more about how your work with Girls Who Hack encourages girls to get into cybersecurity?
Sure. So Girls Who Hack is my non-for-profit. I started when I was 11, created into a real 501c3 when I was like 14, I believe, and then have been continuing along up until now. Obviously, the cyber field, though definitely more diverse now than it used to be, was and still kind of is predominantly old white men. And there's nothing more intimidating than being the only woman in a room full of older guys, because then you're included, but you're not belonging, you see? And I wanted to create a safe space where girls can truly belong. As girls, I'm sure you relate, there's such a pressure to be perfect and not get things wrong and just understand things right away, not make mistakes. So here they are given an environment where they are able to make mistakes without the fear of being judged.
I love that. How many in our audience understand that, resonate? I see a lot of hands going up, and you speak so well about the challenges. What skills or perspectives do you think that younger people, maybe not just women, but younger people, bring to the table for cyber?
The difference between the younger generation and the other generations, everything above Gen Z, which I'm part of, Gen Z and Gen Alpha grew up with all of this technology, integrated in every part of our lives. And especially when COVID happened and we switched to online school, every aspect of our life was online, which you guys didn't have to grow up with and experience. So we know firsthand the user interaction with technology and what impact it can have on our lives. So bringing our perspective in that sense is crucial.
Have there been any specific examples that you can think of, any one that you've worked with specifically that's really resonated with you, that's made a huge impact in your life? Any, maybe one of our events or a different event that you've done, anything that you can think of?
Ooh, okay. So, let's see. I think this has happened at a lot of different events. It's always interesting working with the younger girls. Like, usually I do middle school to high school age, but the last event that I did with you guys, the one before Cyber Launch, I had a very young audience. So I was teaching my soldering class, as I normally do, because I like to teach some hands-on hardware style stuff. And the youngest girl I taught was not 10, not 8, but 5 years old. And I mean, you're sitting next to her and helping her out. She's adorable. And you could just see like her eyes light up, and she was so excited to do this. She wanted to go ahead before instructions and stuff. And I think that was the moment I'm like, whoa, okay, I am actually creating an impact here, starting super young, and I think that's just so important.
I was sitting next to her. She kept hugging me. I think she crawled in my lap at one point, right? Like, it was very moving to see her really take initiative. And you are so incredible with those young girls. Like, it's so beautiful to watch. If you ever get the opportunity to watch her in action, the way that you're dynamic and your energy comes across, and I bet you're tired halfway through the day, because she gives 100%, this young woman, and it is so impressive to see what you're doing. It really connects with them, and I'm just in awe of you every time I'm around you.
I'm fueled by passion, what can I say?
I love it. I think we need more of that, and what you do matters. And in many ways, you're a perfect representation of someone who's fighting the stigmas that still exist in the industry. How does it feel to know that you are a role model for future generations of cyber?
I mean, growing up in the cyber field, I have a ton of role models myself, Snubs, Lady Ada, and like other amazing women that I've met who have helped me, who have guided me, who have been like, we've been through this too, girl, we know what you're going through. So to be able to have that same impact, especially since I can directly connect being the same age and gender as these girls, is absolutely mind-boggling, and I just hope I'm doing a good job.
You are.
Thank you.
You definitely are, and a lot of our cyber launch feedback agrees with that, so thank
Yay.
you. So your life experiences are similar to that of child actors, right? And in the sense that you've been doing this work for so long, you actually have more experience in the industry than many adults do. So do you ever feel like you have to work extra hard to prove yourself, your knowledge and expertise because of your age? And if so, how do you handle that?
Oh, most definitely. So working how I do, sort of like you said, almost like a child actor, my knowledge and capabilities get questioned constantly. Like if I'm presenting at a conference and it's open questions, there will always be a lineup of people, and then they'll ask like actual good questions that they would ask any speaker talking about that topic. But then one guy, or like person, usually guy, will come up and be like, you see, back in 2016, there was this attack on this system. Have you heard of that? If you haven't, you should research that and blah, blah, blah. Do you understand how this works? Can you explain how this works? I'm like, this isn't a job interview. I'm the speaker here. So obviously people question my capabilities or think that like my parents just do everything for me. And I'm like, no, because I started when I was young, so I do have literal years of experience in this field. And though I may be young and not completely like practiced or can't completely relate to someone who's been in this field for as long as most people have, which is definitely over a decade or a few decades, I have enough experience to say that I've grown with the tech field.
It makes me a little cringe. It's cringeworthy to hear those stories, and I'm sorry you have to go through that, and you shouldn't. I think that sometimes experience is intimidated, and the fact that you can understand that and move past it is incredibly mature.
Yeah, the best advice I can bring to the table here, if someone's ever asking you a question just to get a reaction out of you or to test you or whatever, just pretend you're a politician, you know, avert the question, think around it, pretend you're superior in power a little bit to help with your confidence a little. And then if someone's like, have you heard about this, and you're like, oh yeah, I bet, but do tell me more, and like search them for knowledge and then start testing them, you know, switch it back on them, mess around a bit. Yeah.
It doesn't sound like it, but is imposter syndrome something you ever struggle with, or has your lifelong history in this space helped you avoid that?
I think everyone definitely struggles a bit with imposter syndrome, especially like I'm constantly in rooms full of adults who are the executive of this or the startup of this or the CEO of this and have this many years of experience. And part of me is like, oh my goodness, how much can I learn from these people? This is amazing. The other side of it is like, but why am I here, you know? Like I was at the speaker dinner yesterday night and there's like all these big names and they're fancy with their little cocktail glasses. I'm over there with my Shirley Temple like, I'm here too, guys. It's cool to see you all, thumbs up. I think the only thing that's, other than being an extrovert, that's getting me through this whole imposter syndrome thing is just the whole quote, like my dad always told me, it's like, if you are the smartest one in that room, get out of there. Because there's nothing for you to learn, nothing for you to grow. So if you are the dumbest one in the room, don't be like, oh my God, I'm the dumbest one in the room. Be like, yeah, I'm the dumbest one in the room. Let's see how much smarter I can get.
That's great. Very mature. And what a great father to help you through some of those challenges. That's pretty incredible.
So you obviously do a lot of public speaking, and do you ever get nervous, and how do you deal with overcoming that fear, if so?
Ooh, this I actually have a lot of advice on. So being a teenager, working in this field, and living in this decade, obviously I have anxiety, just like everyone else does. And going up on stage, though I've been doing it since I was 11, is still scary and intimidating. No matter how many times I do it, it's not one of those things you can easily grow out of. And even if you do, every conference is different, every talk is different. The way I sort of get over that is the way I speak is relatively unique. I don't know if you've seen any of my talks, or if you have, I like to mix in jokes. Another trick is not putting a lot of info on the slides. Usually with conferences and things, even at work, you might think like, oh, I have to be super professional. But no one wants to actually sit there and listen to someone drone on and on. You can still convey the same information in a way that can educate others and influence them with whatever your opinions and beliefs are without making them fall asleep in the audience. You know, just keep it light, friendly, fun while you do it. And then you'll have fun on stage instead of just talking like this the whole time.
I love it. I love it so much. So, as you continue to grow, the cybersecurity industry will inevitably continue to grow alongside you. What changes do you hope to see in the industry throughout that time? What do you hope will remain the same?
Diversity, and not just diversity in the sense of backgrounds and color and race and like all of that stuff, gender, but also diversity in level of technicality. Because if you go to a cybersecurity conference, almost everyone there, I'm going to say like 95% of people, 98% of people work in the field, have worked in the field, etc. But who are the main consumers of all this tech stuff? Everyone else as well. So I hope to see more non-technical people coming to these conferences, learning these things so they can better educate themselves on the tools that they're using every single day in their lives. I mean, even our fridges are smart now and have screens. So we got to be better at protecting ourselves.
You know, there was a woman this morning after I got off the stage, and she was talking to me about, I had to do this and I had to do that. And I'm like, everyone should be involved in cybersecurity, regardless of your vertical, your speciality, your interest. We all have to maintain a sense of our own privacy and responsibility for that. That's incredible advice.
Yeah, it really is. So the cyber industry is notorious for being fast-paced and constantly changing. How do you find the balance in working in this industry while continuing to evolve personally as well?
Okay, so as you know, I'm 17, and that's usually the age people are like still in high school. I graduated high school at 16, perks of being homeschooled. And I started going to community college, got a few credits from that, but then obviously my cyber life has caused me to need to essentially pack up and move every single month to go to different conferences all around, which is an amazing blessing, but I also sometimes miss home, you know? I mean, this summer I have an internship with IBM, which means I have to move to Austin for 3 months in the summer, and I'm like, ooh, okay, this is a lot. So with it being so fast-paced and so much going on, obviously, this is my chosen career path. I don't think I'm going to switch anytime soon. I'm going to continue what I'm doing, which is speaking, continuing with Girls Who Hack. As for college, I think I'm probably going to do online college just to allow me to be able to like pack up and move when I need to, and then see where it goes on from there. So I think that's like the easiest way to keep things as balanced as they can get.
Congratulations on that intern. And I think if you need any recommendations in Austin, I used to live there. So
Ooh, awesome.
Yeah.
Good restaurants and stuff.
And I know a few people there. We'll talk afterwards.
Perfect.
What do you do for yourself to prevent burnout?
Ooh, preventing burnout is a hard thing. Usually, you get burnout when you do obviously too much, but when you also lose your why. So the reasoning behind something. Even if someone's worked in a job for so many years, if you lose the why, you lose the passion you originally had when you first started for that certain topic, then you're gonna experience burnout. If you truly just have passion for what you do and true interest in it, that's where I get my adrenaline and energy. It's also important, like between events, I set blocked time, just like I would set blocked time for work. I set blocked time to be like, okay, I'm gonna take this weekend off. I'm gonna spend this time with my friends, because personal time, you are your product that you're selling to others. You gotta make sure your product stays nice and clean as well.
So you've previously given talks on psychological warfare through social media and its power on its power as a weapon in today's political battlefield. Knowing all that you do, how does your relationship with social media differ from others your age?
Oh my goodness. So yes, this is something I'm going to be talking on at my keynote. Not to like plug myself in here or anything. You should go watch that. It's at 4.
Please do.
So that whole talk's going to be past, present predictions, and it's mainly talking about PsyOps in the sense of social media and how that's going to impact the future election cycle and obviously impact everyone with disinformation. I think the difference it makes between me and others is there's not a lot of cyber education, especially when it comes to protecting yourself on social media other than the like don't let random strangers follow you kind of a thing. I'm usually more actively watching out for things like deep fakes or anything that could be spam or bots, and I'm better at spotting those things. But a lot of people, including even kids my age who use social media, aren't as good as spotting these things because they're not really looking out for these things. Hence why we need to be like, hey, this exists too.
Yeah, that's great. What advice would you give to the public when it comes to staying informed as well as protected during the election year?
Be skeptical of everything, because anything can be true or untrue. I'm going to talk more about all this during my keynote, but when reading an article, when seeing a post, when listening to anyone speak about anything election related, no matter what party they're from, look out for loaded language in the form of like adjective dumping, meaning if they're talking and they're adding a ton of adjectives, whether it's good or bad, like the amazing Donald Trump or the horrible Joe Biden or anything like that, the more loaded language it has, the less likely it's just talking about facts and the more likely it's trying to convince you of something. Also, just in general, no matter if it's elections or not, try to hear both sides of the story. Go to multiple news sources, not just the ones that one news source links, and try to keep yourself informed that way. Just always be skeptical.
That's really great advice.
All right, so now we have time for Q&A from the audience, if you're willing and able.
I'm very willing and very able, I hope.
I just mean you've been so tired today. We've worn you out a little bit. Do we have any questions? You are definitely capable. If anyone's capable in this room, it is you. But do we have any questions from the audience? Anything you'd like to ask?
Anything you're curious about? Yeah, go ahead.
What excites you about or worries you with the intersection of AI and cybersecurity?
Ooh, here we go again. You just need to see this keynote, dude. What worries me the most is, and I'll talk about this later, there was a study done like in 2023, so very recent, where they took 610 people and they showed them images of AI faces and real faces. And more people thought the AI faces were real than actual faces. So the biggest, scariest thing with deepfakes, AI faces, AI voices, and everything is the uninformed people out there hearing all of this stuff, believing it's true, and then also the liar's dividend, which means what's real is fake, what's fake is real. A politician being like, oh, that's not a real video of me, that's a deep fake, you know? So like denying proof that might come out that they did something or they didn't do something. So now it's just like even harder to prove what information is real and what information is not. Okay, anything else? And keep in mind, if you get a question later, then you can always just DM me. But yeah. Okay, go ahead.
So what is your ideal role down the road?
Ooh, in cyber? Okay, so my ideal role constantly changes, but as of now, for a lot of reasons, which I'll get into, I want to work as a cybersecurity consultant because number one, I get to travel. Number two, I get to still do technical work in like every aspect of like a field while still being able to interact with people. As you can tell, I'm an extrovert who obviously loves to talk. So being able to have a job where I can explain technical concepts to non-technical people, which is what I do with Girls Who Hack anyways, that's ideal. That plus obviously continuing my journey with Girls Who Hack and trying to grow that as much as I can.
Can you share a little more about Girls Who Hack?
Okay, sure.
Okay.
So our motto is teaching girls the skills of hacking so that they can change the future. I provide free online and in-person classes to any middle school to high school age girl starting her journey in cybersecurity. So my classes, I like to do them in person just so I can have that one-on-one FaceTime rather than online, but I still do that. I do different things like intro to terminal, how terminals work, intro to networking, how a network works, how it's built, how you can get around it, web application hacking, how to hack into a website, cyber safety like I did today, how to actually keep yourself safe online rather than just don't make your password 1234, which I mean you shouldn't, but you know there's more to that. And then I have some hands-on classes, like I said, the soldering class as well. So I'm just trying to make actual beginner-friendly classes, since a lot of these tech classes are like, oh, we're for beginners, and they mention words like server and expect you to know what that is. Then you end up Googling that, which you end up Googling something else, it becomes a rabbit hole, and then you get disengaged. Hence why I created Girls Hack. Safe space where you don't feel judged. You can be in a group with people who are exactly like you in that sense. You get to learn, you get to collaborate, and you don't have to feel overwhelmed with hard information.
What advice would you give to a high schooler who's interested in cybersecurity and what path they should take to get there?
Okay, so one thing a lot of kids my age don't realize is just how many tech jobs there are. So number one would be researching different jobs in the field, whether that be red team stuff or blue team stuff, defending or attacking, and then seeing the different options and seeing sort of what sparks their interest. And then based on that, they can be like, oh, I want to work in the blue team. And then what should I learn about that? I like No Starch Press. They make amazing beginner-friendly books on all things cybersecurity from any perspective. They even have stuff on like social engineering. Getting some of those books, reading through those, following along. Not to plug myself in, but totally to plug myself in. Girls Who Hack, my online classes, if the person can't like actually come to see me in person. My online classes I have some that are pre-recorded. One of them that I have is web application with Juice Shop, where I teach them how to build a virtual box, what a virtual box is. We put this vulnerable web application on it that also has, it's like a CTF style. It has self-guided things as well, so it can teach you how a site works, like the code behind it, and how you can exploit all these different things. So I'd say generally doing that, like going on my site, seeing my things, and also No Starch Press is like the best.
As you progress, as you progress through your career, what does the future of Girls Who Hack look like? Do you plan on expanding that organization, or?
Okay, my ultimate goal is obviously to expand it into its own entity where I can be the founder and I can watch over everything and sort of guide it. What I'd like more in the future is to be able to travel even more. Obviously, I've done stuff with Girls Who Hack in different states, but to be able to maybe go out of the states and go to Europe or other places around the world and bring education there as well. I can only do so much by myself, so maybe in the future expanding to the point where I can have other people working for me who I can train to teach these same classes. Just like expansion in that sense would be amazing.
As a non-tech person, I wanted to say thank you for shouting out that non-tech people should come to these.
Yes. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you.
You are included here, I promise. Yes. Okay, going once, going twice. Okay, I think we're good. Awesome.
So, again, your energy, your knowledge, and your just power and essence is a privilege to be around. Thank you for doing this today. We are so impressed with what you have offered and what you've done in this space. And as a woman in cyber, it is so refreshing to have your perspective spoken in the room. And I hope to see you more often in our travels. Okay.
Aw, thank you. I can't wait to continue working with you.
So this brings us to the end of today's episode. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here in person. As always, thank you to my co-host.
Yay. me.
Thank you for having me.
And remember, rate, review, and subscribe to Do We Belong Here? And you can find us on social media at Do We Belong Pod. That's at Do We Belong Pod. And I'm going to ask you, Candy, can you tell us what we're thinking?
Yes, we do belong here in the cyber world.
That's right, we do. And we'll be back again next month to prove it.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for listening to the Do We Belong Here podcast produced by Cyber Florida. To learn more about the show, visit cyberflorida.org or connect with us on social media at Do We Belong Pod.